Good morning, everybody. Hello, hello. It's so awesome to see everybody here today. We are here today for a three-part kind of quick little live where we're going to be going and discussing everything about wonder words. And I'm joined here today by Dawn and Kyla. Dawn, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, thanks. My name is Dawn McGregor. I teach first grade in Lamars, Iowa, and I'm a platinum certified whole brain instructor.
And Kyla?
Hello, I am Kyla Tesmer. I am gold certified and I teach third grade in North Carolina.
Woohoo! All right, ladies. So I don't know if you have this in person right next to you. Yes.
It's in the living room.
Don't worry about it, Dawn. We know you have one. I have a picture of it to prove it. But we will be kind of discussing the different intricacies today of the whole brain teaching for challenging kids second edition. If you do not have this second edition, please get on Amazon today and order it. It will really kind of transform everything in your classroom. And we've been using this. I've been using whole brain teaching since 2014. Dawn, how long have you been using it?
This will be my fourth year, I think.
Okay. And then Kyla?
This will be my third year.
Okay, so this book has changed so much. And I like to kind of explain it as my kids, they're still the same kids, right? But as they grow up and they get older, new things start to happen to them. So the foundation of whole brain is still the same. The teachings and the ideas are still the same. We've just grown up some of these different strategies and just tweaked them as we've gone so that it really is a rich and I don't know, perfect way to kind of show it to you in the new way. So I am going to send Kyla over to Facebook. So Kyla, we'll see you in a little bit. All right, girl?
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, Kyla. All right, Dawn. So today we are talking all about, what are we talking all about?
Wonder words.
Yeah, wonder words. And this is one of the most powerful strategies that you can do in your classroom. It is simple, but it is going to boost that critical thinking. And so we're just going to kind of fly on in. Are you ready? Are you ready, Dawn?
I'm ready.
Yeah, girl. Awesome. All right. So Dawn, we, as you can see here, we have these beautiful Wonder Words posters, and these are all created and available on Teachers Pay Teachers. We're going to drop some links of different things in there. And so Kyla, if you want to go ahead and link the Wonder Words slides. You can print these in color, and I like to do them on just a regular sheet of paper. And then I organize them around my Promethean board so that I have all of them there ready to go. And I will lock those up as we talk about in gamification. But for right now, we're just going to kind of go into what we do, and then we'll upgrade and teach you some other things that go along with it. So Dawn, these beautiful pictures, where can we find them again?
You can find them on Teachers Pay Teachers. You can print them out like on cardstock and post them somewhere in your room, lock them up so you can unlock them as the year goes on.
You've got it. Well, so it wouldn't be a whole brain teaching live if we weren't using some whole brain teaching to teach these strategies, right, Dawn?
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to start with our focus today, Dawn. So our focus today is, all right, and I'm going to start off with the magic circle. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, class.
Class, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Our focus today.
Our focus today.
What are wonder words?
What are wonder words?
And how can we use them in our classroom?
And how can we use them in our classroom?
Ert. Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
All right, teach it back to me. What's our focus for today?
Today, we're going to learn about wonder words and how we can use them in our classroom.
You've got it, girl. 10-finger woo to you.
Thanks.
You're so welcome. So if we're looking at wonder words and how we're going to use them in our classroom, the next thing that I really want to kind of hit on is using that questioning strategy to really kind of help our students. Oh, hold on just a second. To help our students understand what we mean by using these questioning strategies. So, excuse me. I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to use that same strategy right now. Are you ready, Dawn?
I'm ready.
All right. So, class.
Yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
What
are
wonder words?
are wonder words?
What are wonder words?
What are wonder words?
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach your camera the question of the day. Teach.
Okay. What are wonder words? What are wonder words?
Class-a-doodle-doo.
Yes-a-doodle-doo.
Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Mere words.
Mirror words.
Wonder words
Wonder words
are a magnetic visual representation
are a magnetic visual representation
of critical thinking
of critical thinking
to allow any student
to allow any student
to think deeply about the topic.
to think deeply about a topic.
Wonder words
Wonder words
are a magnetic visual representation
are a magnetic visual representation
of critical thinking prompts
of critical thinking prompts
to allow students to think deeply
to allow students to think deeply
about any topic.
about any topic.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
All right, Don, go ahead. Teach that to your screen, and everyone else out there in the audience, teach it to your camera as well. Teach.
Okay. Wonder words are a magnetic visual representation of critical thinking prompts that allow any student to think deeply about any topic. Wonder words are
Class.
Yes.
Awesome job. Thank you, Dawn.
Krystal?
So, Dawn, let's go kind of back. Let's kind of talk about this a little bit in relationship to the why we want to do this. So look at these two pictures here, Dawn. One picture we have, well, the traditional classroom. What do you notice about this picture, Dawn?
Kids are just sitting in rows facing the teacher.
Yeah, you've got it. And what do you notice about this second picture?
The arrangement's a little different. We've got lots more participation, lots of hands up in the air.
Exactly. So we're kind of talking about the two differences here, the traditional classroom, hold your traditional classroom in your hand, and then we have that WBT classroom, okay? So when we allow our students to involve themselves in this rich questioning, we're allowing our students to take ownership of their own learning. So in the traditional classroom, students might sit back, they might just kind of listen to what's going on. But when we allow students these WBT strategies like Wonder Words, they are leading their own learning, which is a really important thing here. So Dawn, do you mind comparing and contrasting a traditional classroom and a whole brain teaching classroom?
Sure. Thanks, Krystal. So in a traditional classroom, it's really, I think of it more passive. Kids are just sitting a lot and listening. They might be taking notes. But in a whole brain teaching classroom, it's much more active. We're going to put a lot of the learning on them and start getting them to ask the questions of what they want to know.
Absolutely. And it just becomes kind of this mental shift that teachers need to kind of shift their thinking, put on a new set of goggles. And you are no longer going to have to be the prime person on the stage in the front. You're going to let your students have that responsibility. And then you're going to get to sit back and drink that foamy latte, and they're going to get to do all the work, and you're going to sit back and watch in awe of what they're doing. It's my favorite part. I don't know about you, Dawn.
I love it. Even first graders can ask Wonder Words questions about lessons.
Yes.
So this is not just for older.
Exactly, Dawn. So that's a great point that you're making right now. We know that these strategies can really be used all the way from pre-K kindergarten all the way up into those secondary classrooms as well. So once we teach what these different gestures are and we teach how to use them in questioning, this can take off in so many different directions. It's not just about reading. It's not just about questioning or writing or science. It really becomes a way that students' brains will shift in thinking, less about that receptive and more about that really using that critical thinking aspect. So Dawn, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
Let's do this. So in this session, we're just going to be learning about who and what, and then we will be learning about the next three, and then the last three in the next sessions that we do today. So Dawn, are you ready to do some critical thinking here with me?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Class.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Dawn.
Oh, you're welcome, Krystal.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Who?
Who?
Pointing at people.
Pointing at people.
The gesture for who is to point at people.
The gesture for who is to point at people.
Move one finger side to side.
Move one finger side to side.
To point at people.
To point at people.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
All right, Dawn, teach your camera what our gesture is for who. Teach.
Okay. The gesture for who is to point at people. So you're moving your finger from side to side like you're pointing at people.
Hey, yo, class.
Hey, yo, yes.
Thank you, class.
You're welcome, Krystal.
Mere words.
Mere words.
Our gesture.
Our gesture.
For who is to point at people.
For who is to point at people.
Our gesture for what.
Our gesture for what.
Is to open up a dictionary.
Is to open up a dictionary.
Look like you're looking for something important.
Look like you're looking for something important.
Who.
Who.
Point at people.
Point at people.
What.
What.
Open up your hands like you're looking in a dictionary.
Open up your hands like you're looking in a dictionary.
Mirrors off.
Mirrors off.
Teach your camera, Dawn, the what gesture for me, please. Teach.
Okay. What, you pretend like you're opening up a dictionary. So the gesture for what, open your hands like you're opening a dictionary.
Class, oh class.
Yes, oh yes.
Teach both of those gestures now, everybody in the audience. The who, point at people, and the what, open up the dictionary. Teach.
Okay. So who, you pretend like you're pointing at people. What, you're opening a dictionary. Who.
Hey, yo, Dawn.
Hey, yo, yes.
All right, Dawn, you want to see this in practice?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see this in practice. Okay, so if we're looking at this picture here, and now we have some really robust graphics. I mean, just look at this screen. It's so interesting to look at. You see these colorful graphics, a black and white picture. Oh, what does this do to your brain already, Dawn?
Already, my brain's starting to ask some questions.
Absolutely.
I wonder what's going on in the picture.
So let's just kind of start to guide the thinking here.
Okay.
When we look at this as a who question, I really want you to kind of start off with just some observations when you're with your students. So it doesn't have to be where you just jump right into having your kids ask questions, but start with some observations first so that we can activate some different parts of their brain. So Dawn, what are some observations that you see? And those of you out in the audience, I want you to type in the comments what some of the observations are that you see. Go for it, Dawn.
I see 3 children. It looks like they're outside. There's also a dog with them. 2 girls are facing one boy, got a little attitude going on with their hands on their hips. And the dog is definitely curious about something that the boy is holding. So it makes me wonder a lot of things.
All right, so let's start off with the who question. Everyone make my gesture. Who, pointing
Who.
at people. So Dawn, will you phrase some of those observations as a who question?
Sure. Who are the 2 girls? Ert. Who is the boy? Ert. Who took this picture? Ert.
Love it. All right, Dawn, let's stop right there. Ooh, we see some more people. Oh, I've got some Facebook comments over here. We've got some observations and some people asking some awesome questions. So Dawn, I noticed you did something here, and I want to just kind of stop for a second, and I want to highlight what some of the things are that you just did already in this. So Dawn, I noticed you doing this. What is that?
This is our brainy gesture for a capital letter.
You've got it. So hold that hand flat. And then we're going to use our other hand to show that that letter is larger, that capital letter. So awesome job with your capital letter gesture. Can you tell me what you did when you were doing this? What gesture was that for again?
So that's the who gesture. So I do the capital letter gesture first, since we're starting the sentence, and then I do the gesture for the wonder word.
Yeah. And then what did you do there at the end, Dawn?
I did our brainy gesture for question mark. You draw a question mark in the air, and there's a couple ways you can say it. I have learned ert. I don't know if that's how you say it, Krystal. I know I've heard other variations for the sound effects.
Exactly. I started out in the beginning going, because it was like a question, and then as it evolved longer through whole brain gestures and what we say, it did become a ert. So awesome job, Dawn. I love how you were able to use those different brainies to help us be able to kind of think about that oral language component. And I love watching students do these brainies in class, especially when they're reading something and you can see them start off with their capital letters and their question marks. It's just so fun. All right, so Dawn, you asked some really great who questions. Now, this is where we kind of get into the meat of this. We're going to talk about some shallow questions and some deeper questions. So shallow and deep, just like they sound, right, Dawn? Shallow is going to be just kind of those questions that are very basic. And then what are we looking for in those deep questions?
For those deep questions, we're looking at for those higher critical thinking skills, the things that maybe aren't quite so obvious.
Absolutely. So I might ask the question, who is responsible for the dog in this picture? Ertz? Because I'm noticing that he's not wearing a leash. He's over there eating this poor boy's ice cream. So that can kind of deepen it just a little bit more. So as we ask these who questions, who in my mind get very much that shallow kind of questioning until we're linking it to something else we know. So Dawn, how do I like to think about that? What kind of question?
So the who ones are a little more shallow unless you really are amping that critical thinking, because most of the time your kids are just going to ask, who is the girl? Who is the boy?
Exactly.
Your example of who is responsible for the dog takes it up a level and makes it a little bit higher critical thinking.
Yes, you got it. So Dawn, the next part of this that I really want to kind of hone in on is we're looking at the difference of shallow and deep questions, but what we're looking for in our thinking and our critical thinking isn't necessarily the questions. It's actually the answers that our students are giving. So it's less about the questions. That gets us started, but now we're bringing our students into answering the questions. Okay, Dawn, give that back to me again. That's a pretty powerful statement.
All right. Thanks, Krystal. So yes, the questions are super important, but the next step then is to focus on the answers. Sometimes the teachers will do the answers, but it's much more powerful if we have our students answering those questions.
You've got it. Awesome. So the more that we give that back to the students to take ownership of their own learning, the more complex their brains are processing that information. All right, Don. So we talked about a question, right? And it was just based on that picture. Now let's link it into math. Ooh. What do we see here? Let's start with just some observations.
Sure. It looks like a beach with tons of umbrellas and people, chairs.
All right. How could we think about math with this picture?
Well, I kind of want to know how many people, how many umbrellas, which I know those are how questions. What would be a way to solve how many umbrellas there are?
Ooh.
So what is a way to figure out how many umbrellas there are?
Love that. All right, down in the comments, everybody, I want you to share your observations and then ask a what question. Remember, opening up that dictionary, ask a what question, and we'll be looking for some of those really good ones. So I'm going to model a question that I could answer or ask with this. So what is a way to calculate the total amount of chairs under each umbrella? All right, Dawn. So give me an answer. Let's see if we can model now the answer process of this.
We could count them all by ones. I teach first grade. We could do that.
That's awesome. Okay, so now I'll model how I would answer my own question. And in the beginning of this process, when I teach this to my students, I will model for them the complexity of an answer that I'm looking for. So we're going to start with a shallow answer, and then we're going to go deeper. So your answer was great, right? We could count by ones. Love it. I might say, I could see there are 2 chairs under each umbrella. This makes me think that each umbrella I could multiply by 2. I could even get more complex and I could say there is a row of 5 umbrellas in each half. Zoop. So I could take that 5 and multiply it by 2 to get each row. Now, what did you notice happen there, Dawn?
You really expanded on the math concept. It wasn't so easy or superficial, and you kept adding on to your answer. It wasn't necessarily just a one sentence answer. Some of our answers, we really want students to have 2 or 3 sentences for their answers. And this is tell me more gesture, which once you start using gestures, your brain kind of automatically just starts using them. So this is the tell me more.
And that is exactly what I was going to ask you. Dawn, you're doing this little gesture here. What does that gesture mean?
Yep, tell me more. And so you can do that with your students. If your students do give you a one sentence response, you can push them, because we're always trying to look for improvements. Push them, tell me more, tell me more.
You've got it. So that is the detail adder, which takes us to the next part of this, Dawn. Oh, love it. You're doing more work for me than I even thought I needed. So now we're going to talk about how we can take our Wonder Words questions. All right, hold on. Let's do this, Dawn. I think we need to review real quick. All right. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Everyone, show me your who gesture. Who? Yep, you got it. Point at people, because we know repetition is going to grow those dendrites, so you can remember this later on. So who, point at people. And Dawn, tell me what is.
What? Open your hands like you're looking something up in a dictionary.
You've got it. So everyone, show me who. Show me what. Show me slow who. Show me slow what. All right. Notice we just used one of my favorite strategies, which is the spice of life, a little bit of variety. So we varied the way that we practiced. We varied our voices. We also varied the way that we showed those gestures. Give me a heart on that, guys. I need some reactions here.
Love. Yeah, that's
a good point there. Come on. I need some hearts.
Because we just asked, do students get bored with the gestures? No, when you add that funtricity, when you change your voice, slow down, speed up, things like that, that makes it still engaging.
Exactly. You've got it. So let's just keep on with it. So Dawn, now that we're ready for this, we've practiced it a little bit. Dawn, can you ask me a question about what I'm showing here right now?
What is super improver?
Yeah, I like it. That what question again. So what, like a dictionary, is super improver? Well, a couple days ago, I did an entire live all about super improvers with my awesome co-hosts. And so we know that super improvers is one of our main motivational strategies that we use in whole brain teaching. And it starts off with all of our students being at a certain level. We start off as white at a turtle. And then as they get stars that they've earned for those improvements, then those change the colors of the ladder as they work their way up. Super basic, right, Dawn? Super basic.
Super basic, yeah.
But what do you notice at the bottom of these white cards? What have I added there as our goal?
You have a target, and the goal is Wonder Words, and then the plus symbol.
Yeah. So on this week, if we were practicing Wonder Words, I've already shown my students how to use Wonder Words. Now what we're going to use is a class goal of asking and answering Wonder Words questions. Now at first, they're going to be kind of shallow. Those are good. But as we start to get those deeper questions and those deeper answers, the ones that really make our brain think more critically, that's where we can start to award students with those super improver stars. All right, Dawn, give that back to me, girl.
Sure. All right, thanks. So after you've taught Wonder Words, now we want to rise the expectations of our students. So for this particular lesson or week, you have the target behavior that you're looking for is Wonder Words. So as students ask and answer Wonder Words questions, when you see those improvements, they'll earn super improver stars.
Yes. And also, if you want to really up the ante here, when you're further on in the year and you're trying to get more stars, you can even have your students nominate other students to receive stars for their questioning if it helped them learn more about the topic that you're teaching. All right, give that back to me, Dawn.
Sure. Thanks, Krystal. So later on in the year, you can even kind of turn this over to the students. And when your students see improvements in others, they can nominate them for awards. So if I ask a question and it really helped clarify some thinking for Krystal, she could say, oh, I really think Dawn needs a star because that question really helped me.
Yes. All right, Dawn. Well, we are at the end of this very quick little live. And I'm so thankful that everybody was here with us today. Or those of you catching the replay, thank you for coming to our awesome show. As I said before, Dawn, this is session 1 of how many today?
There's 3 today.
Yeah,
so
there's
back for 2 and 3.
You've got it. All right, everybody. So we're going to bring Kyla back on to us. Kyla, are there questions that you saw that you were just like, oh, these are great questions? Oh, hold on, Kyla. I can't hear you yet.
I was muted.
You're so cool.
Thank you. Okay. A question that just came through. It said, last year I noticed that a lot of students started to ask the same question someone else asked. How do you guys encourage them to ask their own questions? I suggested one way is that super improver, connecting that and awarding those stars and having the students award stars when they hear those new questions. But I don't know if you have another idea.
Dawn, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's great. You could say, oh, another student asked that. Let's work on asking a question that's different than one of your peers just asked. And yes, awarding those stars is really that motivator to get them to want to do those challenges that we put out.
Absolutely. And I also really I'm very purposeful about making learning visible. And so I will often create anchor charts. I am the anchor chart queen. And we will add our questions to the anchor chart. And then we can say, hey, I'm noticing we're asking a lot of these questions right here. These are more shallow questions. What other kind of questions can we ask that would add to our learning a little bit more? And just kind of make them see that these are kind of the repetitious questions. Now let's use something different. And I'll give my students Post-it notes and they can ask questions on the Post-it notes, even if we're not in the middle of doing wonder words. And then we can go up and pull those sticky notes off to be able to read and give other students ideas about how they can ask different questions. And then I think a big part too is really giving them that chance to observe the picture. Because if you just jump in and you're simply asking questions, when you get students observing more about the picture, it allows them to think more deeply about the picture and get out of those surface level or those shallow questions and comments. Great questions. All right, here's another good one. I have students who started asking, what is the lesson about today? And 2 simple questions like that. How do you handle that? So that's a great question. What is the lesson about? But we want to pull them back and remind them that Wonder Words questions are questions that are going to help us deepen our understanding of what we learn. So it's not asking the questions, it's about how we can deepen the idea of the answers or our critical thinking about those questions. So that's kind of how I would pose that to my students too. Is that question helping us learn more, or is that just helping us understand what we're going to learn today? And Dawn, do you have anything to add to that, or Kyla?
I was just going to say you could ask your students for a specific wonder word question. Like in your session 3, when you get into the how questions, you'll see why you might want your students asking some of those how questions, because they are raising the level of critical thinking.
Absolutely.
And up the degree of the questions.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, we are going to sign off for this quick live. I was trying to keep it under 30 minutes and we are 20 seconds away from it. So thank you so much, Dawn and Kyla, for being here. And thank you everybody in the chat for being here with us as well. If you have more questions about this topic, drop them in the comments and we will do our best to go through and answer those questions for you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.